everyone, Chris here, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to share with you my TBR for this round of the Queer Lit Readathon. So this round is a week-long readathon that runs from the 15th through the 21st. The Queer Lit Readathon is hosted by Kathy and Rogan, and I will have their channels and announcements linked in the description below. They also have 3 co-hosts for this round. Frannie, Lizzie, and Caitlin, and all of their info will also be linked in the description box below. For this round, like every other, there is a bingo board with all sorts of prompts on it, and I have picked out a bunch of books that I'm very excited to try to read in this week that will fulfill every single prompt on the board. So first up, for disability rep, I have You Don't Know Everything, Jilly P by Alex Gino. So in this book, we're following Jilly, whose sister Emma is born deaf, and she is white and hearing, so she's going to get treated differently than her sister and their Black cousins. She's really into fantasy reading and ends up connecting with a boy named Derek, who is Black, deaf, and uses ASL. A friendship develops, and she's hoping that Derek can help her learn some things about being deaf that maybe will help her with her sister. She ends up making some mistakes, and it's up to her to fix things, not Derek, and begins to learn that the world isn't necessarily always going to be as safe for her sister or Derek as it is for her. I think this is going to be a hard-hitting contemporary. I've loved Alex Gino's other works, so I'm very, very excited to dive into this. I'm really excited to see Jilly's journey, to see how deaf culture is represented in this book, and to hopefully find another read of Alex Gino's that I really love. So next up, I'm going to be reading Moby Dyke, An Obsessive Quest to Track Down the Last Remaining Lesbian Bars in America. And I will be using this for travel, nonfiction, past, present, and future, and community. So this is obviously a nonfiction book, so I can tick that off right there. And we're following a journalist as she seeks to find out what happened to the lesbian bars that used to be so prevalent in America. It says in 1987, there were 206 of them, and today only a couple of dozen remain. How did this happen and why? What has been lost or possibly gained by such a decline? And I think this fits those prompts perfectly, because obviously she's going to be traveling to find these stories. We're talking about a community with lesbian bars because lesbians used to gather together in a community at these bars. And then we're looking at the past of lesbian bars, the present, and maybe talking about the future of where lesbian bars are maybe going. So I thought this nailed those prompts perfectly. It sounds really, really interesting, and I'm glad it popped up on my radar because I think I'm going to really enjoy this one. Next up, I'm going to read Breeze, Spells, and Bridegrooms by Sarah Wallace. I'm using this for the prompts magic and high hype, no hype. I've never heard anybody mention this book, so I don't think it's got a lot of hype. It says, Roger not only had to prove himself to the council, he also had to prove himself to Wyndham Renrussell. Fae and humans alike are returning to London for the season, but the excitement is marred by the growing poverty rate among humans with low magical scores. Tenacious Roger Barnes proposes a new rubric for testing magic to the council, hoping to resolve the predicament for his fellow humans. But when he is paired with Wyndham Renrussell, a dashing fae who has disliked him since childhood, the project seems destined to fail. Even after reaching a tentative truce, their fragile partnership crumbles due to malicious lies. Adding to the disarray, a popular gossip column unexpectedly announces that Roger and Wynne are engaged. Obliged to go along with the falsehood to save their families from scandal, they are forced to reconcile their differences for the sake of the rubric and for their impending marriage. As the project leads into their wedding plans, the pressure to flawlessly execute both mounts even higher. Together, they have the chance to solve a crisis decades in the making, but they'll need more than magic to succeed. Like I said, I've never heard anybody mention this book, but I thought it sounded interesting, and it worked really well to combine with magic. So looking forward to seeing what this one's all about. For gender-bent retelling, I plan to read Rabbit Chase by Elizabeth LaPencie and Casey Oster. So this is an Alice in Wonderland retelling. So in this, we're following Amy, who during a class trip accidentally wanders off from the rest of the group and ends up being transported down a rabbit hole to an alternate dimension where the land is being taken over by a greedy queen and where even more dangerous adversaries dwell in the dark waters. And the reason I'm saying this is a gender-bent retelling is because Amy is non-binary. And I thought that that should definitely count. I don't always love Alice in Wonderland retellings because Alice in Wonderland has never been my favorite story. But I like the idea of taking this prompt a little bit differently and having a non-binary character as our POV, given that, to me, that should also count for gender bent. I'm really, really curious to see what this is about, and I think that it might actually work better given that it's a graphic novel, so maybe it will help bring Wonderland to life in a way that interests me more than the usual retelling. So the next book I'm going to mention is Kiss Her Once for Me, and I'm reading this for winter holiday and disaster queers. This is also one of the books that won for my queer book club, so it was one I was hoping to get to this month. Anyways, I will link my queer book club announcement in the cards above if you want to come join us. So this follows a woman named Ellie who meets a girl at Christmas, has a magical night with her, and the next morning her life kind of falls apart. We see her a year later working at this new job and being very worried about money, and her new boss comes to her and says, listen, I know you're worried about money. I would like to get my inheritance, except I need to be married for that. So do you want to come home with me for Christmas and pretend to fake date? You'll get your money, I'll get my inheritance. Everybody's happy. She agrees to go, and when she gets there, realizes his sister is the girl from the last Christmas. To me, that sounds absolutely like a bit of a disaster waiting to happen. And obviously it's set around the Christmas period, so that covers winter holiday. I have heard mixed things about this, so I'm curious to see where I land on it. And at some point during the week, I will be reading this during live reading sprints on my channel. So if you'd like to come join me for that, we'd love to have you. Then for the drag prompt, I came across a book that I was so excited that my library had. The hips on the drag queen go swish, swish, swish. This is by Lil Miss Hot Mess. And let me tell you, when I saw this was an option and my library actually had it, I was so excited. This just seems like it's going to be a fun little picture book, and I love the idea of reading something like this for this prompt and being able to recommend it to the little ones in my life, maybe pass it on, get them a copy at some point. And I just love that there is a book like this for little ones. And yeah, I'm really, really excited to check this one out. And I already love the art. Like, the cover art is so cool that I think I'm going to love the art inside too. So very, very excited to get to this one. Then for the food and graphic novel prompts, I'm going to be reading Chef's Kiss. This is obviously a graphic novel that involves something to do with food. It follows English graduate Ben Cook, and he's on the job hunt looking for anything related to his passion for reading and writing. According to the hiring committees, he doesn't have enough experience. But when he stumbles upon a now hiring, no experience necessary sign outside a restaurant, Ben jumps at the chance to land his first job. He's actually not so bad in the kitchen. Plus, he can keep looking for a writing job in the meantime. But when he begins developing a crush on Liam, one of the super dreamy chefs at the restaurant, he'll start to feel torn between wanting to stay and cook and following his original post-college plan to be a writer. So I thought this was a perfect way to combine graphic novel and food. It sounds interesting, and I think it'll be a quick read in this week that I have to read all of these books. Then, for the prompt gift, I'm going to read Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake. So this is a second chance romance. It says 2 exes find themselves stuck at the same house for Christmas in this holiday romance by Ashley Herring Blake. We're following Charlotte, and it's been 5 years since she was ditched at the altar by her ex, Brighton, and just so happens to end up spending Christmas with her. And she's very, very not happy about that. But it says, after a few days, things start to slip through. Memories, music, the way they used to play together, Brighton on guitar, Charlotte on violin, and it all feels painfully familiar. So to me, I'm deciding to interpret gift as Charlotte and Brighton are getting the gift of a second chance. I am so looking forward to this. Ashley Herring Blake has written my favorite romances I've ever read. So I'm hoping that I'm going to adore this one just as much as I adored those. Then for the choose your own prompt, I went with BIPOC rep, and I'm going to read The Do's and Donuts of Love. This follows a girl named Shireen who is still reeling from the breakup with her ex-girlfriend, but receives news she's been accepted as a contestant on a new televised baking competition. This is her dream come true because winning will not only mean prize money, but it will also bring some much needed attention to You Drive Me Glazy, her parents' beloved donut shop. Things get complicated though when her ex is also a contestant on the show. Then there's another contestant that she becomes fast friends with, and things are heating up between them, but not just in the kitchen. As the competition intensifies, can Shireen ignore all these factors and more if she wants a sweet victory? This just sounded like a fun book, and I really like the food competition aspect of it, so I thought I would give it a try, and I really, really wanted to use this prompt for BIPOC rep, so I definitely think I've got that covered. And then last but not least, the prompt that was hardest for me, ghosts. And for this, I'm going to read Paranorthern and the Chaos Bunny, a Hopcalypse. This is I believe, middle grade graphic novel, and it follows Abby and her friends, a pumpkin head, a wolf girl, and a ghost. So there is my ghost. It says, in this deliciously humorous, cozy, and bewitching graphic novel, sometimes the most powerful magic comes from our connections to family and friends. But kicking evil bunny butt is pretty great too. I thought this sounded fun. I really like the fact that it is a graphic novel. So again, another quick read, considering I only have a week to complete all of these prompts. And like I said, I was struggling to find ghosts, so I'm happy I found one that I already owned. So that is my TBR. I am very, very excited to participate. I'm looking forward to all of these books. I feel like I have a really eclectic mix, which should mean that I don't burn myself out by reading books of all one genre. I like to mix it up. So I think I've got, like I said, a nice mix here. I want to say thank you to Kathy and Rogan for once again hosting this readathon. I absolutely love it. And I love how many queer books are brought to my attention. Not just the ones I am choosing to read, but the ones that they post about as suggestions, the ones in their TBRs, and then, of course, seeing everybody else's TBRs and what they've added to Storygraph. Just, I love how much this readathon brings queer reading to the forefront. So very excited to take part. Are you taking part in the Queer Lit Readathon? If so, let me know which of your books you're most excited to get to in the comment section below. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me rainbow emojis. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!